All right, for all you exam aspirants out there, you know how dense topics like the global economy can get. Well, today, we're cutting right through the noise to tackle one of the most important ones, financing for development. We're going to break down the key frameworks, give you the very latest updates, and focus on what you really need to know about India's growing role in all of this. So, let's get right into it. How does the world actually pay for progress? It's a huge question, and it's at the very heart of what we call financing for development, or FFD. We're going to trace its entire journey, starting way back in 2002, and bring it all the way to today, where India is stepping up as a major player. Okay, so let's rewind the clock to 2002. This is where our story really begins. A landmark agreement was signed, creating the first ever global blueprint for how to finance development. It's called the Monterey Consensus, and it's the foundation for everything that comes after. So let's make sure we've got this down. Now, what made this such a big deal? Well, you've got to understand, this was the first time the world actually agreed on one single, comprehensive strategy for funding development. I'm talking about heads of state, the IMF, the World Bank, the WTO, all in the same room, hammering out a unified plan. It was truly historic. So, this consensus is built on 6 core pillars. And trust me, for your exams, you're going to want to have these memorized. They cover the whole spectrum, from what a country can do at home with its own money to fixing the bigger issues in the global financial system. And don't worry, we've got a trick to help you remember them. To make this super easy to remember, just think DRITES. Kind of sounds like Dr. IT, right? Think of it as the doctor for development finance. DR is for domestic resources, IT is for international trade and private resources, and ES covers external debt and systemic issues. It's a simple little trick, but it'll help you lock in all 6 pillars come exam day. Now, this slide gives us a perfect example of Pillar 4 in action. That's international cooperation. This is where something called Official Development Assistance, or ODA, comes in. Basically, the Monterey Consensus set a target for developed countries to give 0.7% of their gross national income as aid. But as you can clearly see, hitting that target has been tough. Some countries, like the UK, managed to do it, but many others have struggled to get there. So, this blueprint from 2002 was great, but the world doesn't stand still, right? So the FD process had to evolve. It had to adapt, especially when major curveballs like the 2008 global financial crisis came along. And here we have it, the entire journey on one slide. This is perfect for your revision loads, seriously. You see the starting point in Monterey, the crucial test in Doha during the crisis, the big link-up with the SDGs in Addis Ababa, and then the latest chapter in Seville, which we're about to dive into. The big story out of Doha is really one word: resilience. Think about it. In 2008, the world's economy was in a freefall. The fear was that development aid would be the first thing on the chopping block. But the Doha Declaration was this critical moment where the world basically said, no, we're sticking to our promises. It was a huge recommitment. Okay, that brings us right up to today. And this is the stuff you absolutely need to know for your exams. The most recent conference in Seville represents a really big shift in how the world thinks about financing development. So what happened in Seville is a massive shift in philosophy, a real game changer. We're moving away from this top-down, one-size-fits-all model. The new focus is all about empowering individual countries to take the lead, to design their own financing plans that are tailor-made for their own unique needs. Okay, here's a key piece of jargon for you, so listen up. INFFs. That stands for Integrated National Financing Frameworks. Just think of them as the main toolkit for this new country-led approach. They're what governments use to create a detailed roadmap for funding their own national priorities, everything from development plans to their climate goals, which you might know as NDCs, or Nationally Determined Contributions. So where does India fit into all this? Well, this is where things get really interesting. India isn't just following along, it's actually stepping up as a global leader and a real innovator in this space. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just look at this powerful statement from the conference in Seville. It shows India is going way beyond just talking about new ideas. It's actually putting them into practice. The key word here is institutionalizing. That means making it a core, permanent part of the system. So what on earth is outcome-based financing, or OBF? Simply put, it's about paying for results, not just effort. Instead of just throwing money at a project and hoping for the best, the funding is directly tied to achieving specific, measurable goals. It forces everyone to answer the question, did this investment actually make a difference? And this is the area where India is really becoming a world pioneer. And here's the proof in the pudding, a concrete example of OBF in action. This $14.4 million represents India's Skill Impact Bond, a perfect data point to drop in your answers. Basically, private investors put up the money first for job training programs. The government only paying them back with a profit if those programs hit their targets, like getting a certain number of people trained and into jobs. It's an incredibly smart way to make sure public money is spent effectively. All right, let's bring it all home. We're going to wrap this up into a nice, neat package for your revision. This is where we connect all the dots and give you the key takeaways. Here are the absolute essential terms you've got to master. You have FFD, the big picture. You have ODA, that specific 0.7% target. Then you have the modern tools, INFS for country-led planning. And finally, you have OBF, India's innovative model that's all about results. Make sure you can explain each one. And these are the crucial points about India's role. Remember, India is not just a participant here, it's a leader that is actively shaping the global conversation. By focusing on measurable results, empowering women, and building models that other countries can actually use, India is really setting a new global standard. So, we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on for your essays. India's pioneering work in results-driven finance could very well become the blueprint for the rest of the world. The big question for the next decade is just how much this focus on results, accountability, and national ownership is going to reshape the entire future of global development.